And
Sorry.
I feel like it's important to point out that Miles Sanders going off in the second half was just what the Eagles needed. So yes, you started to take away Jalen Hurts, and yes, you started to limit AJ Brown. But by that point in time, all they needed to do was run clock.
They had to eat the clock. That's all
Right.
they had to do, and that's what they did.
They essentially did to Dan Campbell what Dan Campbell said the Lions need to do other teams. They started to just pull them into the deep end because eventually you're going to realize you can't keep swimming.
Damn, Miko. Way to bring it back.
So that is what I believe lost this team the game. But like to Gion's point, I think that's correctable. I think that's actually correctable going into next week. But I think in order for that to be like, not only can does that need to be corrected, I think we also need to see some performances be sustained going into the next game. And I think for the rest of the season, which brings up our next topic,
Right.
which is going to be this:
Woo.
of the guys who performed amazing this week,
Mhm.
I kind of limited to four guys. You guys in the comments might disagree with the guys that we're going to talk about, but between DeAndre Swift, Jeff Okudah, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Tracy Walker, all of those guys I believe played like lights out from beginning to end, or in Tracy's
Well,
case,
yeah,
from
until
beginning to ejection.
yeah, like, and F him on that. That was dumb.
I'm I'm giving Tracy a pass, and we
That's
can get
fine. It's still
once.
as a captain, if he wasn't a captain, but like he's a captain, that's just unacceptable. But yes,
It's
I,
not
I
acceptable. Like, no, it is unacceptable, but I understand the frustration that goes into something like that. So that's why I'm being a little lenient,
sure.
because I think it's so easy to sit on a high horse, not saying that you're doing this, but other people to sit on a high horse and say he should know better. Dude, you haven't been
No,
getting hit, pushed in the back, who knows what under piles for 3 quarters.
right.
You haven't had somebody say something crazy to you after your team has been getting like lit up for 3 quarters. I don't want to hear it.
That's fine. But still, that was just that's a big
Yeah.
that was big.
But for this question
Okay.
specifically, of those four guys,
Woo.
who do you think's performance is not just sustainable for the next game, but for the rest of the season?
Wow. Okay.
Gian, let's go with you first.
Ooh,
Um,
Gian.
I might take some heat here.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
But I am gonna say I think Malcolm Rodriguez.
Ooh. Not the person I thought was going to, not you are not the person I thought was going to pick Rodrigo.
No, he thought it was gonna
So,
be me.
Yeah.
and only because the rest of the season, like Swift, he looked elite. Like he looked like every bit of he
He looked
lived
like a
up to every
yeah,
he lived up to what Deuce said about him in Hard Knocks, like behind the
agreed.
scenes. Like
Mhm.
he
Yep,
lived up to that. And just like Scott said, inside, inside, inside. He went inside and
he
like
did.
and yeah. So
Extra
but
5 yards every time.
I'm gonna, he's gonna get a cramp or a Charlie horse or something. Like there's something's going to happen at some point in the season. He's gonna miss some games. Um,
Mhm.
Okuda, I really think I have faith in him. I think he's gonna like. I think he's back, and I think I think he finally is the person that we thought we were drafting, and I couldn't be happier. But for me, sample size is still too small. Tracy Walker, love the dude. And it was really a toss up between Rodrigo and Walker, and I went with Rodriguez because we saw in OTAs, we saw in training camp, we saw in Hard Knocks, we saw in the preseason that everyone said that for a guy his size, he has to play perfectly, and that's what we've seen from him is perfection. And I mean, there may be some missed assignments, but for the most part,
No,
he has played like I think Dan Campbell said, and I think he was. I don't think he specifically said he was talking about Rodriguez, but he said, you know, don't if your assignment is this gap, it doesn't matter what the quarterback's doing. This is
Yeah.
your gap. And I think Rodriguez, for whatever reason, maybe it's his wrestling background, whatever it is, um, he's able to mentally compartmentalize and just zero in on that. That's my gap. That's my assignment. And I'm going to hit it at the right angle at the right time. And everything we've seen so far shows that he is absolutely consistent. And everything just checks every box. And there's no reason for me to believe that that consistency won't continue.
And to John, to add on to your point, Dan Campbell said in his presser, he said that Rodrigo didn't miss an assignment in the game. Now, I don't know if that's true, but Dan Campbell said he didn't miss an assignment.
Yeah.
Anything. He was basically flawless, is what he said. I don't know if that's true, but he was the highest rated PFF player on the lines. Was Rodrigo.
Really?
Yeah.
Defensively.
Because I know Deshaun Elliott had an 80 in coverage.
Yeah, I
Rodrigo
know.
was the top rated defensive player.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think like Swift was the highest graded.
Correct.
Shout out to Deshaun Elliott. He had a great game.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, anyway.
No, so I was just adding to your point. Yeah. So I mean, he theoretically did play perfect, or at least in Dan Campbell's eyes.
Scotty, who do you have?
Okay. All right. Who is more likely to repeat their star performance for the rest of the season? Ugh. Wow. So I was first going to go with Rodrigo, as you were aware, because Miko was going to call that out, as he did call it out. Because he's been so consistent, right? 6th round pick. It's just what a snag, right? You got to give Holmes like credit on this one. Well, remember when we drafted and we were looking at the tape, we're like, holy shit, look at this guy. Remember? We were all like, I remember the vividly. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's a beast. And like, gotta love the hip toss too. It's just entertainment, right?
God,
I mean, it's very much like a gladiator to me. He's just a big man that's throwing people around, and that's fun to watch. So I originally went there, but I think, in my opinion, that this is Swift's season. So again, it with all of these players, it's about health. But I think DeAndre Swift, if they're going to keep him around 20 touches a game, I think that, because I think he had 18 or 20, it was close to 20.
I think it was like 16.
16. Yeah, but he got that many yards on 16 carries.
Sorry,
and then he had 15 carries and 3 receptions.
Yep.
Yeah, so 15. I mean, if he can play like that, I mean, under 20 touches a game, I think he should be able to stay healthy. And if that's the case, and that's how he's running, nobody can stop him. I think he's a top RB in the league. Yeah. I don't think he's the top, but I think he is a top running back in the league. I think everyone's going to have to prepare for him, and he's going to be tricky because you can't stop him. If he gets past one tackle, which he did, like on a lot of his runs, you can't stop him because he's running like he's running angry, and I love it. And Deuce has got him rolling. And so I think, and I hope too, but I think this is Swift's season. I mean, this is a season he wants to make a statement. So I think Swift, with Rodrigo second. I know Okudah and Walker, they played well. I mean, I'm just happy for Jeff, good for him.
Yeah.
And it's, you know what? And good for him when he's off the field. We need him. I mean, that was the other thing too, right? He came off for cramps, which does happen on an Achilles. So when you, so my Achilles that I pop, it cramps, my cramps all the time. Doesn't matter. Cramps all the time. It's really, because it's hard to stretch because you're stretching that tendon as much as you're stretching the calf. So it's not just a calf stretch, it's a tendon and a calf stretch. So you can't really get the stretch that you need because you're stretching the tendon to loosen it up. Right. So it's tough. He'll deal with that all season. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm also going to go with Swift, but before I give my reason for why Swift, I'm going to break down like the other 3 options or why I'm not choosing one of the other 3 options. Jeff, like you guys have all said it, I am in complete agreement. I am so happy for Jeff.
Yeah.
To get out of a game healthy, but on top of that, to just have like such a stellar performance. Like Being there in person, I was literally keying in on him, and I'm talking about just perfect get off from the line, just perfect shadowing of his man, staying in the hip pocket, and not to mention his tackling, which Jeff has always been a great tackler since he's been here, but just continuing that level of play. The
Also,
only
that was
reason
not pass interference. I don't think that was pass interference. That's bull. That was a weak PI call.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
That was weak.
but
Lions fan.
the only reason I'm not picking Jeff is because there's some really good receivers left, and who
Yeah.
knows who and how the Lions are gonna choose to cover certain guys.
Right.
In this game, they decided to just, like, keep Amani and Jeff on specific people. Who knows how that changes, but there's some other receivers that they're gonna have to battle with, and
This weekend,
hopefully
one of
yeah,
them.
right. Hopefully, the Jeff's like performance repeats itself, but I'm not holding my breath because some of these guys are just they're built different. Every receiver is built a little differently, and they're going to attack Jeff differently. Rodrigo, I think Rodrigo would have been my second choice, and it's for a lot of the same things that you guys said. He has just continued to improve practice after practice, preseason after preseason, and I think he will continue to do the same thing game after game. I think he will get a little bit better every single game.
God, wouldn't that
But
be
at the same
something?
time,
Wouldn't that be something? He's a rookie starting almost perfect games.
but at the same time, I'm also got to take into account he is a rookie, and I believe
Yeah.
he's going to have that rookie performance in the same way that Aiden Hutchinson did in this one. He's going to have a game like that. He's going to have a game where he gets tricked, where eventually they're going to like teams are going to try. If he's consistently performing, then he's going to eventually become a target where they're going to see, can we trick him? Can we get him to over pursue or overreact to something? So I feel like he's going to have up and down games just strictly because he's a rookie.
That's fair. We haven't even talked about Hutch, but go ahead.
Tracy, oh, Hutch is coming up.
Yeah.
Tracy Tracy is so close, was really one that I wanted to pick as well, John. And it's very similar to Swift. I just think this is Tracy's year. I think Tracy is going to cement himself as one of the top safeties in this league
I
and a
hope.
safety that can do it all. And we saw it in this game before he got ejected. He was tackling well. He was there in coverage. He's rushing the quarterback. Like Tracy can do
Yeah,
everything.
he had a nice TFL.
He's also like the protector on punt coverage. Like so there's just so many things that Tracy can do. And I do think, like DeAndre Swift, this is his year. I think this is his year that he makes a Pro Bowl. I think this is a year that he like cements himself as one of those top safeties, and he's going to put a lot of people on notice.
I could see Swift and Walker making the Pro Bowl. Yeah,
Absolutely,
if they keep it up. I mean, one game, but
sure. Now, but I have to go DeAndre Swift, and it's for a lot of the same things Scotty said. DeAndre, I believe, is on a mission, and I don't think he made those goals lightly. And I think he is going to put so much pressure on teams to try to stop him.
mhm.
And I'm not sure there's a way that you can stop him in every phase of the game. There may be games where he maybe doesn't rush it for as many yards, but I think those will be the games where you see he's going to have 100 yards receiving.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll throw him the ball. I mean,
Like
he was
he's
lining up outside. He was lining up as wide receiver. He was all over. They moved him around.
and I think as long as this coaching staff understands how pivotal he is to their success, which I think he put on full display in this game,
Mhm.
you feed him in any way you possibly can. You feed DeAndre Swift.